Are these the men that will bring about the Antichrist? We talk a lot about the big issues facing us today: government power, deprivation in the media, and the increase in perverse events and parties. But what if I told you that there will be a group of people that will bring about the man of perdition? This will have to be a group so powerful that it forces other nations to bend the knee. In today's world, global leadership and alliances are not far-fetched. We see numerous examples of international coalitions. There are many that believe this to be the European Union. End times prophecies have interested both Christians and non-Christians for a long time. People have been curious about when events related to the end times will happen and who the main people will be. Trying to figure this out is something that many Bible readers enjoy. A common question that comes up is about the role of the European Union, EU, in the events leading up to the tribulation. To explore this question, let's look at some dreams that Daniel interpreted. In Nebuchadnezzar's dream, we see the order of the world's kingdoms over time. Each kingdom is of a lower quality than the one before it: gold, silver, bronze, iron, and then a mix of iron and clay. But each kingdom is also stronger than the one before it. Daniel says that Babylon is the head of gold. After that, we can identify the other kingdoms as Medo-Persia, the silver arms and chest; Greece, the bronze belly and thighs; and Rome, the iron legs. The feet stand for a kingdom that is somehow connected to Rome, iron mixed with clay. In Daniel's dream, he sees the kingdoms of the world coming as different beasts. The fourth beast Daniel sees is one he describes as terrifying and frightening and very powerful. This scary beast had large iron teeth. It crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts, and it had 10 horns. As Daniel watches, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being, and a mouth that spoke boastfully. An angel explains the dream to Daniel, saying that the fourth beast is a fourth kingdom that will appear on earth. It will be different from all other kingdoms, and will devour the whole earth, trampling it down and crushing it. The 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. After them, another king will arise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the Most High and oppress His holy people. The statue's feet have 10 toes, and the frightening beast has 10 horns, each horn representing a king. Could the European Union be connected to the 10 toes in Daniel chapter 2, or the 10-horned beast in Daniel chapter 7? Some people think there may be a link. The beginning of the European Union was the European Economic Community, created with the Treaty of Rome in 1957. The current EU was organized in 1993, and some Bible scholars wonder if the EU could fulfill the prophecy about the last kingdom of the world. One problem with this idea is that the revived Roman Empire in prophecy is a group of 10 kingdoms, but the EU now has nearly 30 members. However, with a shared currency and united rules among member nations, the EU might be a preview of a coming superstate, ruled by the Antichrist in the end times. When the little horn of Daniel chapter 7 verse 8 appears, it will come from a group of nations, possibly like the EU. One of the world kingdoms predicted in Daniel will be a group of nations united in some way with the old Roman Empire. Today, we see this in the European Union, where nations in Europe have come together to form a union. This unity shows that people want to join together, and it sets the stage for a future coalition like the one in Daniel's prophecy. God's word can never be broken. One day, The Antichrist will come to power, and he will take down 3 of the 10 united kings who are with him. The kingdom he leads will fight against God's people and win for a while. But this only happens until the Ancient of Days arrived and pronounced judgment in favor of the saints. Then, the beast was slain, and its body was destroyed and thrown into the blazing fire. No matter what he says or how strong he seems to be, the Antichrist will be defeated, lose all his power, and face his end. For the past 2,000 years, people have wondered about the idea of a one-world government since John wrote the book of Revelation. The idea comes up and goes away, but keeps returning, especially now that the United Nations has gained more influence. There are many global events that some might see as signs of Bible prophecies coming true. However, we should be careful not to rush to conclusions. Throughout history, there have been big threats worldwide, possible ideas of one-world governments, and proud leaders out of control. Our current time might seem more likely to fulfill prophecy than other times in the past, and we may feel that we can see the day approaching. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25. But until we see Christ, we need to trust God and keep spreading the good news of His kingdom with what we've been given. The Bible doesn't actually say one world government or one world currency when talking about the end times, but it does give us enough information to believe that both may exist under the rule of the Antichrist in the last days. In the book of Revelation, the Apostle John has a vision where he sees the beast, who we understand to be the Antichrist, coming up out of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns. When we compare this vision with a similar one in the book of Daniel, we can see that this beast will start some kind of world government. This horn, the most powerful one, will wage war against God's holy people and conquer them. Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. No matter who these 10 nations are or how they come together, the Bible is clear that the beast will defeat 3 of them, and the others will follow his lead. John goes on to describe the leader of this huge empire as someone with great power and authority, which comes directly from Satan. Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. This ruler will be worshipped by all the world and will have control over every tribe, people, language, and nation. This person will be the leader of a one-world government that rules over all other governments. When the beast, the Antichrist, and the power behind him, Satan, take control, they will try to have complete power over everyone. Satan wants people to worship him because he wants to be like God. How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, light bringer, son of the dawn. You have been cut down to the ground, you who have weakened the nations, king of Babylon. But you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly, in the remote parts of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 14. To truly control people, he will also need to control buying and selling. Revelation chapter 13 explains how this will happen. Everyone, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, will be forced to receive a kind of mark on their right hands or on their foreheads to be able to buy and sell. And he is given power to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast will even appear to speak, and cause those who do not bow down and worship the image of the beast to be put to death. Also, he compels all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, signifying allegiance to the beast. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. Most people in the world will likely take the mark just to survive. This new way of buying and selling will be worldwide. Everyone will have to follow it, and it will be tied to worshiping the beast. Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. There is a lot of guessing about what this mark will look like and how it will be given to people, but the technology we have today could make it happen easily. Is the unrest we see worldwide just a series of coincidences, or does it indicate something much deeper? How will this affect us in the present age? We get an answer to this in the book of Revelation. The New Testament message from the book of Revelation comes hundreds of years after Daniel's prophecy. It confirms Daniel's words and gives us new information about God's plan. This shows us that Daniel and Revelation are connected and help us better understand God's purpose. In Revelation chapter 17, the Antichrist and the 10-nation confederacy support a new religion, the Babylonian religion. The Bible speaks of a prophecy in the book of Revelation. It describes a religion that will rise to power in the last days. How will this religion come to power, and who will promote it? This religion is referred to as the religion of Babylon and is mentioned in the book of Revelation. Right from the start, Babylon's judgment is unquestionable. There is never any doubt regarding Babylon's fate and ultimate failure. An angel invites John to witness the judgment of this evil woman. Revelation chapter 17, verses 1 through 2. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying, "Come here. I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed acts of sexual immorality, and those who live in the earth became drunk with the wine of her sexual immorality." Babylon came into being as a religious system a considerable time before Christianity did. But in satanic imitation, it anticipated the coming of the genuine Messiah. We see Babylon as a seducing spirit. This imagery is depicted in the book of Revelation, where Babylon is portrayed as a mysterious woman engaging in illicit relationships with the kings of the earth. This emphasizes the moral decline and corruption of societies entangled with false religions. Babylon is mentioned 287 times in the Bible, making it the city most frequently mentioned after Jerusalem. In the Old Testament, Babylon is associated with organized forms of worship, blasphemy, and the oppression of the people of God. This refers to the religious significance of Babylon. "And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold, precious stones and pearls, holding in her hand a gold cup full of abominations, and of the unclean things of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead a name was written, a mystery: Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the witnesses of Jesus. When I saw her, I wondered greatly." Revelation chapter 17, verses 3 through 6. Here we see Babylon's relationship with this strange figure called the Beast. You see, this is not the first time we meet the Beast. The Beast has already been shown in Revelation. You see, this Antichrist is so great that not even Christians will be able to extinguish him. That is why the Antichrist is shown as a monstrosity who has power and authority. But we also learn something else about this Antichrist. The Bible tells us that one of the heads of this beast will be mortally wounded and then healed. This is why Babylon needs the beast. The title, Mystery, Babylon the Great, does not refer to the physical city of Babylon, but instead to the spiritual representation of Babylon, which is the origin of all forms of spiritual adultery and idolatry. For this strange Babylon prophecy to be fulfilled, she must encompass more territory than a single department of a religious organization. She has to be the personification of Satan's very own movement. This is what we call the religion of the global order. Babylon seems more ready than ever to seduce our world, because it is built on the solid notion that it doesn't matter what you believe, as long as you believe in something. But Babylon will not simply stop at seducing the nations. She will also persecute. That is why this strange entity gets drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the witnesses of Jesus. We can see that Babylon takes pleasure in the fact that she is persecuting the godly, much like a drunk person takes pleasure in alcohol. Babylon is going to need a lot of help to destroy the people of God. She will require not only the Antichrist, but other rulers. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. These have one purpose, and they give their power and authority to the beast. These will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are the called and chosen and faithful. And he said to me, the waters which you saw where the prostitute sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. Revelation chapter 17 verses 12 through 15. This cohort of Babylon's friends is likely referring to a 10-nation alliance. Who are these 10 nations? We do not know. However, regardless of their specific identity, their actions are obvious to any serious Christian who understands prophecy. This mysterious figure rules over all the world's people, crowds, nations, and languages. This shows that the impact of this strange woman can be felt worldwide due to her connection with the beast. This will indeed be a one-world religion. Her significance revolves around her relationship with the beast and the government he leads. However, the allies of the Antichrist turned against the strange woman. Revelation chapter 17 verse 16. And the 10 horns which you saw and the beast, these will hate the prostitute and will make her desolate and naked, stripped of her power and influence, and will eat her flesh and completely consume her with fire. We read, these will hate the harlot, make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh and burn her with fire. In the end, the Antichrist will not tolerate any form of worship other than that of himself. The Son of Destruction exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worship, to the point that he sits in the temple of God demonstrating to himself that he is God. Revelation chapter 17 verse 17. For God has put it into their hearts to fulfill his purpose, to be of one mind, and to give their kingdom to the beast, until the words of God are fulfilled. Sometimes, God will use one wicked group, in this case the 10 kings, as an instrument of his judgment against another wicked group, in this case religious Babylon. This happens rather frequently in the Bible. But Babylon, in the sense of the global order, has always been that great metropolis that rules over the rulers of the globe. This has been the case since the beginning of time. For Christians, the question that needs to be asked is, does it reign over me, or am I a resident of a more incredible city? But Babylon is doomed. She and they will fall. Their days will be numbered. The incredible manner in which this is accomplished is plausible in today's environment. Ambitious politicians, hungry for power, resent this financial cloud. They are even prepared to bring about economic disaster if that will enable them to take over. God will ordain the political support that these 10 rulers would provide for the Antichrist. The world will get exactly what it asks for, which is a godless religion and a godless government. Revelation chapter 17, verse 18. And the woman whom you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. The kings will be jealous of the woman who rides them and resolve to destroy her. The city will be engulfed in flames. It will be the world's worst economic disaster in history. Many people will weep and mourn over the ruins. When you hear about world leaders uniting, you might think of secret meetings or powerful alliances. But in the book of Revelation, this gathering of political leaders and beast kings holds a much deeper, more profound truth. In the book of Revelation context, world leaders refers to the political and governmental figures who play unique roles during the end times. These leaders, often symbolized as beast kings, are depicted as powerful rulers who align themselves with the beast, a central figure representing ultimate rebellion against God. To understand their roles, it is crucial to look into the descriptive language of Revelation and draw parallels with contemporary global politics. This leader, supported by a coalition of rulers, will establish a regime that demands absolute loyalty and suppresses religious freedom. And he was given authority over every tribe and people and language and nation. Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. Another area of concern is the development of digital currencies and cashless societies. As transactions become increasingly digital, governments and corporations gain more power to monitor and control economic activities. This shift aligns with the biblical prophecy of the mark of the beast, where buying and selling are controlled by a central authority. The idea that no one can participate in the economy without a specific mark reflects the potential future where digital currencies are controlled by a global power, limiting economic freedom for those who do not comply. One of the Antichrist's most notable characteristics is his ability to unite the world under his rule. He will establish a global government, bringing together various nations and peoples under his control. This unification will seem beneficial at first, as it promises peace and stability in a world often plagued by conflict and chaos. But this peace will be fake, hiding the Antichrist's true bad intentions. Throughout history, there have been leaders who made decisions that were influenced by evil or demonic forces. For instance, King Herod ordered the killing of children who were born around the time of Jesus. And similarly, Pharaoh took the lives of many children who were born around the time of Moses. King Ahab and his wife Jezebel attempted to lead the nation into worshiping idols. These are a few examples of leaders who were influenced by evil forces. Many leaders in the past have made poor decisions, often because spiritual forces influenced their choices. Unfortunately, the same thing is happening today with many of our world's leaders. Their decisions can directly or indirectly impact you, even if you're unaware. How can we be certain that this is true? The answer is simple. It's because the policies made by these leaders often align more with the devil's agenda rather than God's. The devil carefully handpicked these leaders, who influences their decision-making process. With all these in mind, should Christians be opposed to globalization? Globalization means spreading influence all around the world. It creates a single world market or less strict rules that allow countries to connect more. At first glance, globalization might look good. It seems to offer solutions to problems like money issues and other challenges. But when we think carefully and look at history, we find some worrying signs that show globalization can have negative effects. The history of globalization often started with military conquest. One of history's most famous stories about globalization is the attempt to build the Tower of Babel around 2100 BC. Instead of spreading out across the earth as God had instructed, people chose to stay in one place and build a big city. This project was led by King Nimrod, who was Noah's great-grandson. His name means rebel, which fits because he went against God's plan. In response, God mixed up their languages, making it hard for them to understand each other. This caused the people to form groups based on their language and move to different areas. In a dream, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon saw many empires, which shows how people have tried to create a one-world government. This last empire will be a real global government led by the Antichrist. He's also known as the Beast and the Lawless One. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 8. Then the Lawless One, the Antichrist, will be revealed, and the Lord Jesus will slay him with the breath of his mouth, and bring him to an end by the appearance of his coming. This leader will power every tribe, people, language, and nation. This future leader will control all money. Revelation chapter 13 verse 17. And all religious practices. Revelation chapter 13 verse 8. If someone refuses to worship the Antichrist, they will face death. If they go along with him, they risk eternal punishment from God. The Bible tells us that whenever people try to create globalization, it is often controlled by evil, ungodly powers. We should stand against globalization because it is pushed by Satan, who is the god of this age. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 4. It's important to remember that in the end, there will be a return of Babylon, which started this globalization idea long ago. See Revelation chapter 18. We also know that the whole world is a prisoner of sin. Galatians chapter 3 verse 22. And that believers are called to hate evil. Psalm 97 verse 10. We must share the light of goodness in the dark places through the message of the gospel. It is right to speak out against wickedness, especially in Satan's version of globalization. However, 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 13 tells us to submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every authority instituted among men. And Jesus reminded us to give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So, we must keep our opposition within the laws of our land. God has a plan for the world under the leadership of Jesus Christ, our King and Savior. It's clear that Christ will still rule different nations. The kingdom will be a time of fairness and real justice. Isaiah chapter 11 verses 3 through 5. And he will delight in the fear of the Lord, and he will not judge by what his eyes see, nor make decisions by what his ears hear. But with righteousness and justice he will judge the poor, and decide with fairness for the downtrodden of the earth. And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. And righteousness will be the belt around his loins, and faithfulness the belt around his waist. What a peaceful and happy time it will be in Christ's kingdom. Isaiah chapter 12 verses 3 through 4 tells us, with joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation. In that day you will say, give thanks to the Lord, call on his name, make known among the nations what he has done, and proclaim that his name is exalted. Be watchful. Two of Jesus' parables that talk about his return are the parable of the talents and the parable of the 10 minas. In both stories, the master leaves 3 servants with certain resources while he goes on a long journey. He wants the servants to use those resources wisely and make a good profit. When he comes back, he rewards the servants who are faithful in their work. At no time in the stories are the servants told to make the master come back sooner or to slow him down. They couldn't even do that if they tried. Their job is simply to use what they were given wisely, so the master's wealth grows. In the same way, God has given us the job of sharing the gospel and making disciples. Jesus never says that we can do anything to change the timing of His return. It is good to be wise in how we use technology and in the human systems we create. It is good to have a positive influence on our culture, but that influence is for the gospel, not to speed up or delay Jesus' return.